Welcome back, everybody. We've already qualified one team to Columbus in the CCL Finals. Northwood getting their way through McMaster, no worries. And now we head to the upper semifinal matchup and another qualification match at that. It's Bay State, the Bulldogs, going up against Concord and the Mountain Lions. This one should be an interesting one. Concord kind of slipping below the expectations that were built for this team kind of leading up to this year, both in Modern Warfare and Cold War, but have put together kind of a hot streak lately, including their run through Winners Round 1 and Winners Round 2. Tough matchup here, though, Proper. That definitely needs to be said.
I feel like there's many different things we could talk about two peas in a pod with. In Concord having tough matchups and having to come above them in playoffs, it should feel right at home. At least the core three should, Alan.
Yeah, it's fair. There's no playoff red chase this time, so who knows what exactly this Concord team has to offer. Taking a look, though, at how these teams fared through the regular season. Again, for Bay State, number one, you expect them to be perfect, and boy, were they. Pretty much throughout every single, not just series, of course, but also mode. Only dropped 2 maps on the season. On the other hand, for Concord, did slip a couple of different times, and some of their losses were, I think, a bit more surprising than I think we came to expect. And even some of the W's that we expected them to kind of cruise through, that was actually not the case. 21-7 in hardpoint, definitely some respawn problems. But the one thing we kind of came to know about the core group of this Concord team is their vast improvements in search and destroy since they initially incepted back in the Modern Warfare year.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those things that we were always ready to write Concord off as just a full-on respawn team. We took a giant break as far as CCL was concerned throughout the Modern Warfare year, and they all just hit the S&D chalice. They started going crazy with trying to become better search and destroy players, and they actually just became overall better players because of it. I mean, you're seeing a lot of these players now make waves as far as amateur scenes are concerned. It's just going to be quite telling to be able to pick up from that loss that they did face against Utica, losing their search and destroy 6-2, Allen, comparatively to Bay State, who lost their map number 2 against St. Clair in around 11. If they can actually come above it, not only that, but to continue on pace throughout the respawns to try to sneak away with a win here.
All right, let's take a look at this Bay State roster really quickly. Again, this is kind of the same things that we talked about for Northwood. Those apply maybe even more so for Bay State. Of course, they were the center of the spotlight at the beginning of the year because the guy at the top of your list was a part of the squad. Former world champion Silly playing with Druxy, who is really the only one of the 4 that kind of has slipped away from the challenger spotlight in a way. Rex and Phantoms, of course, obviously duoed up IRL as much as they are in game. And I think their success over the course of the last 3 years is just as significant as any other player that we've ever had through the CCL. So I'm not going to try to sit there and say that every focus comes down to, how good is Druxy going to be, because during the Modern Warfare year in particular, he was a great player in challengers, and it's giving himself a go while finishing off his schooling.
You almost feel like that Druxy is just the glue that keeps all of this team together, right? I mean, former world champion, like you said, for Silly, came up short in qualifying for Season 3 of the Elite, but was at the Pro-Am, and although Strike X didn't get exactly the outcome that they were looking for, they at least were able to take maps in at least one series. But yeah, keep your family members closer, especially in the battlefield. Rex Phantoms, I mean, you can't really bark too much at this duo, considering the fact that they have qualified for every single Challengers Elite as a duo with a multitude of different other two.
Yeah, and great finishes across just about every single open or regional land that we've seen so far. On the other side, though, contesting them is Concord Esports, the Mountain Lions. As kind of teased about, they were great in Modern Warfare, number 2 behind Texas A&M. Cold War, number 3 behind the Ottawa schools. And the thing about it is they've done it without having to really go outside the bounds of finding heavy-hitting players, because they've kind of, I'll say this, kind of groomed them in-house in a way. Crooked and Trauma have had great years overall inside of what they've done to Challengers this year, and then Paralysis is back on the squad with Loyalty now joining them as their 4th.
Yeah, 10C's no longer playing along with this squad, now bringing in Loyalty, who is coming off of a pretty good season with Concord Gray, and that's where Paralysis was last year as well. It's interesting, again, when we talk about their second place finish in Modern Warfare, we talked about how there's no red chase buff anymore, no playoff red chase, and then it moves to 4v4. Jamie, Megatron ends up graduating, so this is almost what we're going to be expecting out of Concord. Again, this core 3, which we knew going back as far as Modern Warfare were concerned, as far as cracked out SMGs just running amok through almost every little bit of competition. And they, again, through all of that search and destroy practice they were able to gain in between that break of Modern Warfare, has legitimately made them a absolute threat on the map. You cannot bat an eyelash at what this team can bring to the table.
Well, let's see what we've got for the best of 5 map series set here in this qualification match. The biggest kind of, I think, note as far as this playoff run has gone so far. Again, those stats you saw on the screen were just from the regular season. Both teams have been great in search and destroy in the regular part of the phase of this College COD year. But in the playoffs, first 2 rounds, neither of these two teams have won a search yet. Round 11 losses for Bay State against both UNC Charlotte and St. Clair. Whereas Concord, they got smoked by Michigan in map number 2, and actually kind of the same by Utica in their most recent matchup. So I don't know about you, Proper, as we have a double dose of Berlin, double dose of Tuscan. I'm really focused on the 2 and the 5 here of this series, pending, of course, we get all the way to 5.
You and me both. And I was actually watching Paralysis' stream during the Utica match. It was on a Bocod Search and Destroy where things were getting a little bit too linear, individualistic, as I like to say. Sometimes Concord have run into that problem when you go back to their losses against both High Point and Penn State through the regular season, is that they do play disjointed from each other, just trying to rely on Crook just running amok through everybody versus overall team play. That needs to be rectified sooner rather than later. And sooner as in at the end of this Berlin hardpoint, if you want to be able to at least take a map off of Bay State. It's going to be tough nonetheless, but if they can at least rely on their overall teamwork and chemistry inside of that facility, well, it's going to have to start here.
All right, let's find out. Paralysis, thank you for changing your name from Paralysis to just Para. We're happy with this.
You're never going to let that go.
Never, dude. Never in his entire life. And a nice route being hit by him as well. The problem about this is with no one hitting from the front. Oh, you thought maybe for a second this was going to be very predictable, but Para's able to turn that into a double. That opens the door quite literally, and Trauma will close it. So the break from the front, a bit unorthodox, but it still works out well for Concord.
Yeah, nice route coming through from Paralysis to be able to hit through the upper courtyard. Again, holding the line, going forward to the middle of the map, and then Crook hits it once again. Even finding that one trade will at least keep numbers in their favor as Paralysis resurfaces coming up through that side staircase. But Trauma, they get flanked as well. Silly is able to find themselves a timing to get in towards the back, but spawns might have flipped, all for the worst. 10 seconds still to play over here. Bay State completely recognize this. They take a focus towards the middle.
Thing about this, though, it's not going to be with numbers, as Concord have also found good kills on the exit from 1 as they move towards this mail room. Rex, valuing his life, will not do too much, just wants to keep his position as an opportunity for Bay State to utilize for break attempts. But good reads from Concord, not just inside the hill, but more importantly on the proximities. Paralysis still looking for routes to hit, and he actually needs to kind of consider hitting the brakes here and wait for some help. Good first kill on the way. Crook's going to follow up behind him. And even though Bay State's got the hill for now, they do not hold the numbers, and this leads to an opportunity for Concord to try to break on in 1v1. Paralysis, goodness, what did he have for dinner? 6 and 2 on 4 in a row, looking for the 5th, spamming through the wall, but shut down by Phantoms, and Bay State will recollect the hill.
And you would almost feel like, again, it's that little bit of discretion that Concord needs to start showcasing if they want to be able to take these hard points outright instead of just being overall contested. Now, you will see a minor bit of, I guess you would concede fully if you are Bay State, knowing that you have to hold on towards P3, but 2 players do hit all the way through the B lane, and that's actually going to force Concord to be able to find a route to be able to get in towards the back. Now, Phantoms reads this late, but you still have to deal with these 2 players lurking inside of fire.
Druxy, tagged up, still finds the kill, and actually will have a couple of teammates spawn with him. Trauma's not actually able to get on the backside to stop this from happening, so all of a sudden the Mountain Lion's in a bit of trouble, but Paralysis, once again, a double, holds his life, turns his attention, finds Silly as well. Paralysis looking for the quad feed, but turned aside, but he's done more than enough. Concord needs to follow up from the front here, and the kills are going to allow them to do so, but Bay State still spawning close, has more opportunities to break back in for the scrap, but Concord on the backside of Paralysis' incredible play will reap the reward of a break from the front and an opportunity to really contest this back 20.
Oh, this is going to start looking a little dirty for Bay State. Again, they can actually get spawn trapped over here. Loyalty is just holding a line. A team kill is not going to help their favor to try to work out from the situation. And that's going to force Phantoms, you can see, trying to run a route that will force Bay State to actually spawn over by the B hut. This should be at least recognized for Concord that there's no more pressure across the B lane. Player number 4, Trauma, is in the back. He does see Phantoms in the backside of the warehouse. This is a big rotational gunfight that is going in Concord's favor.
And not just the gunfights in their favor. Look what they've done. They've gotten Bay State completely cornered to the backside of the map with these spawns. They've done everything you could possibly ask on a rotation. And now an opportunity to really grow this lead. Silly, scouted out. Trauma good for his 3rd in a row. And as they start to read that Bay State is spawning out, look at the focus from Concord. They're just all over it. Paralysis 14 and 6, and now starting to take away the map from this Bay State Bulldog squad. Good read on the Rex up top, but turned down. But still, what else could you ask for the kid? It's a full-on hold. Concord looked good for the first 40 seconds of time, and they're up by 70.
Paralysis is double positive, 14-7, finds kill number 15, is just continuously finding kills, shooting bodies as well. Nico, relax. We still got to get through the P5 and then another set of hard points. But yeah, 80-point lead or so going in towards P5. And again, Paralysis being able to find these continuous isolated chows, being able to find these kills, it's continuously pushing the line of scrimmage that much further for Concord, and it continuously dwindles the numbers for Bay State to where you have players like Crook finding timings in towards the back, trying to play their life looking for kill number 7. They were 2 HP. That would have been a fantastic kill to find for themselves, but the pressure is still there.
Yeah, it really is. The help is good for Concord. The focus as the team is definitely hitting right now. Bay State doing a really nice job kind of mitigating Concord's success here on the 5th hill. And in fact, they're soaking up some significant time here on their own right. Crook down low, 1 HP, turned aside. So Bay State holding the favored side of the map. And again, they're going to get 35 seconds or so here on this hard point. This has been a great hill for them. And an opportunity to immediately string this into P1 where they could be right back into this game after 2 hills.
Yeah, this is where things can get a little bit hairy now for Concord because you essentially got spawn trapped for about 30 seconds or so. Just holding through the middle of the map was Phantoms who lines up too, one with a hip fire, and then the next headshot just finds Paralysis trying to slide all the way in. But as you were saying, going in towards the second set with Bay State holding that side of the map, they will be in for 1 initially, but the flank is already in. Paralysis finding these avenues and angles for 2. That should open up things wonderfully again. It's a rinse, wash, repeat of how the map started. Trauma last alive, finds the last kill necessary.
Unreal. In. That MP40 is hit hard right now for Paralysis. 21-11, and Concord from the front again. Push Bay State back. Dylan's trying to get into the hard point, but he's getting contested from multiple angles, and that's going to be a 3-for-1 for Concord. Not only does this mean good scrap time, but you've already got Paralysis on rotation to new. They're not going to get a full read on Phantoms, who's also contesting this for Bay State, but largely speaking, these numbers are solid for Concord as they look to get over to Mailroom again.
Well, they'll be aware that Phantoms is back there, though. Paralysis gives up their top balcony position to try to drop low, maybe try to find that trade on the Phantoms. They get gunned from behind. Bay State trying to rectify a certain amount of antics that has been building from the SMG lineup between Paralysis and Crook going in towards the second hard point. They will win this rotation. They'll be in for the initial 20.
Hera still just... There is not a gunfight he's not willing to take at the moment. Rex pistol out. Chased down by Crooked, and once again, Concord have made life difficult for Bay State on this second hard point, even after losing the rotation. Druxy starting to heat things up just a touch. Slow start for him, but a double here will get the Bulldogs back into the hill with numbers. But look how, I mean, this is just so good from Concord. Crooked has finessed his life to make just confusion set into Bay State. Where are they? Playing in and around the hard points seamlessly is Concord, and yeah, sure, the scrap time will still be won by Bay State, but Paralysis is looking for exits. He's going to get that information to his squad mates as they look over towards lobby for the 3rd hill.
Yeah, hey, this is a fantastic rotation. Again, having an SMG being able to finesse for some scrap time will keep Bay State trapped over to that side of the map, but they're all kind of just passively set up on the backside of fire, but that's more or less a good thing when you're thinking about the angles that Trauma's been able to set up for themselves. Loyalty in towards the back will only be able to go 1-for-1, but again, Paralysis with the avenues finds 2. Once number 3 up on the upper courtyard will run into Silly, but the job is done. The last player alive for Bay State trying to assault this hardpoint at the moment is Druxy, and they're playing their life waiting for reinforcements.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to take the wind out of the sails here, but if Loyalty was even 5 kills more, this game may already be over, dude. Like, the amount of individual plays we've seen from Para, Crooked, and Trauma so far is unbelievable. But Bay State is still in the mix. They break for scrap time here for 3, and they've also got 2 members on rotation to new. So this is a lot of key gunfights coming out for both sides. No matter who wins them, they will earn not just some favor over the hill itself, but also potentially with that also the spawns. And Para's got a really good read, good piece of timing. Silly helping from the front, good pinch effort here from the Bulldogs, but that said, I mean, Concord is still contesting around the back. And look at this. Trauma's actually going to spawn in. So Concord has an opportunity to get numbers here first. This comes down to can they find the kills as Bay State is playing around the train yard. And no, Rex for 5. The AR is lighting things up and Bay State a chance to neutralize the lead.
Yeah, big trades, big isolated moments, being able to recognize where Concord were located at, and they're able to collect off the kills. Rex needs to continue to play their life. An influential glide bomb would be massive for Bay State to be able to fully work their way back inside of this game, and they're actually buying a lot of space towards the front side of the hardpoint, which, yes, Concord are hitting one more time. They're able to at least force their numbers, but you're still having to deal with Rex, who finds 2 more kills. That'll be the glide bomb in their back pocket going ahead of 5.
Big tool to try to get this comeback going. Remember last we were here, Bay State did a really nice job of finding good time on the 5th hardpoint and winning the preferred setup, getting over to P1. Not to say that those things are a necessity here, but it would be a nice to have luxury. And with this glide bomb coming in, there's also simultaneously a route being ran by Silly, but oh no! Even though the kill is fine, it's not actually going to influence the spawns, which was the whole cause for the play in the first place, thanks to that team kill. So Concord will lose a member in a key position, but still hold on to the spawns that they want. And that will slow things down for Bay State just a touch, as they have to fight through one more set of spawns before they can get the flip that they were initially looking for.
And look at the discretion coming through from Bay State. They know that they can't pull on Flood. They are more than aware that Concord will be spawning up on the northwest side of the map as well. So they just hold the line, wait for the kills to come to them. Trauma tries to get a Regis outside of the concourse, and they're actually going to get red. But the SMGs are still here, causing a ruckus outside of Mail. Phantoms needs to go big. Needs to wait for the regen as well. They might just be pinched here at the same moment of time, but you can see what Bay State are more or less playing for. They're conceding the rest of the time, just waiting for the engagements to come to them. 3 seconds might be soaked up, but they're going all in as Phantoms finds kill number 5 in a row ahead of the first hardpoint for a 3rd set.
So this will be the first time that Concord has the preferred sides when it comes to spawns for P1, but Bay State and the ARs are keeping them at a pretty good length right now, just kind of keeping them away from this hardpoint. Druxy holding the window, making sure nobody pushes through. Also could hit a route if he wants to, but as he checks the window, Trauma doubles up. Even exchange. They go back and forth. Pinstripe the kill feed. Phantom's on 8 in a row, has earned himself another glide bomb. Off the reload, Paralysis could do nothing, and Bay State, for the first time since the opening hardpoint, has gotten into the lead, and what a time it is, as they won't be able to win it here in every last second, but they will be within half a second or so of being able to put this over the finish line.
And they have done a bang-up job at shutting down Paralysis. There was at one point we were talking being double positive going in towards the second set, is now at 30 and 28. Trauma at 30 and 24. Still beautiful KD ratios when you're thinking about it, but Bay State have forced the issue at hand. They are playing so fundamental, they are just waiting for the engagements to come to them, and they're reading it on every single turn around the corner. Phantoms calls in the glide bomb, finds 1. That'll immediately give them the rotation in towards 2, but you still have Trauma to deal with in the back.
And Druxy just has to touch, that's it. So it'll be a 250 to, what is it, 209? Is that what I saw? Yeah. Okay, my eyes are not deceiving me yet. But, man, it's one of those things that Concord put together such a super solid run, and it wasn't really until this play right here where Concord had the setup that they wanted to, but Bay State just kind of finessed with their ARs to get into 4 and then turn that also into more success around 5. A really, really good setup for Bay State in the final moments, but boy, did Concord give themselves every bit of a look to get this map 1 in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, again, that could have gone completely different. Again, as we were talking about just the overall setups, the slight breaks that were coming through over by 3, and even some contests that we were looking at 4 through the first set of hard points. And that you can mostly also chalk up to, Trauma was finding a lot of value, at least on the lane that they were watching, but Loyalty was not having as much as an easy time as they were getting overwhelmed on the opposite lane.
Yeah.
That being said, you really got to tip it to what Bay State were able to manifest from that P4 hill. As you were saying, AR's finessing their life, and then being able to hold P5 from the train station side. They understood the task at hand. They had to play with a certain amount of discretion, understanding, look, we're not breaking the spawns. We have to hold this from this side of the map, get P1 in our favor from this side of the map, and the gunfights continue to come their way. Because the one thing that was always beneficial for Concord as a whole, more specifically for Paralysis, was that he was just finding timings, angles, running all these different routes, and getting in the face of Bay State where they were expecting a Concord SMG to be located at. Once they were able to lock down those lanes and shut down Paralysis, it just became such an easier time for the ARs just to lock things down from the back.
Yeah. I've said it a couple of times before, but I would hate to see this Concord team kind of anchored down by their 4th, but I feel like that's the times when we've seen them struggle. That's been in moments like that, like 13 and 30 is just not good enough, unfortunately. Not when you're playing up against the caliber of opponents that are on the opposite side. And there were so many openings. Druxy's slow start, Silly kind of slow throughout. I mean, only 2,600 damage. I mean, there were definitely chances here where this Concord team was able to possibly steal a map away. And you just hate to see someone go 13-30 and potentially, obviously at that point, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in a way. But regardless, that's just map number 1. Hotly contested. Concord coming out and absolutely frying. And you have to kind of wonder, what has the mentality been around the search and destroy here? Are they just getting a little bit too loose, running a little bit too aggressively? Because, they've been kind of beat up in both the searches that they played already today, as kind of mentioned from before. They lost 6-1 against Michigan and then lost 6-2 to Utica. So for both of these two teams who have struggled in search in the day, neither of them having wins, Bay State losing 2 round 11s and Concord getting smoked, you kind of just wonder, what is going wrong on the day for both of these two teams?
I mean, I will say this much. I mean, I almost feel like this is a stretch, but I will go there, is that when we were talking about Concord's overall push that was their search and destroy turnaround going back to the Modern Warfare year, those core 4 of the players that we were looking at was Red Chase, Paralysis, and Trauma, all playing as a core 4. Now you are kind of accelerating time to about a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point, and everybody's kind of gone their separate ways as far as how they spend their free time. They're no longer all playing together, and when you go into an objective game mode like Search and Destroy, that trust isn't essentially there. From what I've been able to see, specifically from Concord all year long from their Search and Destroy gameplay, is that they're very relying on just trying to load into the round, okay, I'm hitting this specific angle, oh, it didn't work, and then that angle gets exploited, and then the round just completely falls by the wayside from numbers alone. You need to be able to rectify that going forward. The trust obviously has to be there. The fundamental setups soon to follow. You almost have to outwit your opponents of Bay State, and that's a stretch within its own self from the overall experience that is on the opposite side of the lobby.
All right, so to simplify, let's see if there's going to be too many over-aggressive individual challenges. On the other front for Bay State, I kind of wonder who's IGLing for them. Do you trust the playbook that Phantoms and Rex continue to run through their continual success that they've put together in challengers, both in location through cup weekends as well as during the elite, or do you trust the world champion in Silly to put something together? We'll see. Because it kind of feels like, in a lot of regards, when Bay State had suffered in the past, especially when we kind of saw other events run, tournaments and stuff like that, and they would lose to teams like Northwood and stuff, it feels like it's just, we're just kind of out there seeing if we can just outgun our opponents. So we will 100% see what the problems have been for both of these two teams as we get into this one. And I think that this whole series could maybe just be determined by who comes out on top of these searches, because round 11 losses, at least you're able to fight, but a round 11 loss to UNC Charlotte, not great news if you're Bay State. I don't know what's worse, the round 11 loss to UNC Charlotte or the 6-1 loss to Michigan. Probably the 6-1 loss to Michigan.
Yeah, probably 6-1 to Michigan, yeah. Somewhere in the world, Marco was crying that we're talking bad about Michigan, but yeah, even still, I think it's one of. I think it's again one of those things that this Concord team needs to find a shade of their past and just be able to play as fundamentally strong within these objective game modes that we have seen them before. The hard points and the respawns have always been contested, and they've always kept them relatively close, but it's their overall resilience and teamwork. The trust between these core 3 players need to be there. I can't really just continue to look past Loyalty being a newly formed pickup, because you would assume that the scrim time has to be there.
Yeah.
And it needs to showcase here.
Well, let's see what Bay State has brewing. It's going to be an opening look with nades over towards A. Aggressive defender inside the site. That's Crook playing a tight corner. I think Druxy may have actually seen that. Well, now he has. That's going to flush him out completely. But the timing, oh gosh, Silly's not turning around for this initially. How have that not been communicated? Crook got flushed out of sight, only had one place to go, and still walks away with first blood.
Blanket release is going to be exposed. That'll call for the bomb to be planted here in this 3v3. Druxy get out with their life. They sure will. Rex is there for the cover. So now how do you try to retake this? They're relying on Paralysis to break this from the back, maybe.
I don't think the thing is, though, I don't think Bay State are recognizing the timing of this flank route that's being hit. They will still catch Paralysis. I think Druxy saw the cloak of another defender making their way in towards site. So he'll set up a pinch, although the shots will not land. So now Crook is on the hunt. That's a free kill. Turns around. Timing could be great here on Rex as he goes back into the station, but finds Phantoms first instead. Loyalty's going to hop for the defuse. Halfway done. 3/4 of the way done. Is this checked by Phantoms? No, it's not! And Loyalty shuts us up by sneaking out a defuse right under the noses of Bay State.
Whoever made the call, whether it was Loyalty themselves, I'm just going to hop. It stretches it out from the office. Yeah, it doesn't get checked. I mean, you saw immediately, like, Crooked was trying to run on over there, make sure that at least could be looked at, or yeah, it's just very interesting that that timing does end up coming out to be. And Paralysis flank was immediately scouted. I think it was Phantoms that was watching the entirety. Saw two over by the warehouse street. Just about where Paralysis is going to resurface next, because this kid's been running routes, man.
Opening engagement very quickly taken through A. Silly found nothing. Phantom's the secondary defender, only could get one. Druxy cooking grenade, but it's going to be too late to stop the plan, and actually comes up completely empty. And, oh boy. Just catches a couple of the hindquarters of the Concord members around him. Damage secured, but no kills. So Druxy now working literally hip with hip on with Rex. And look at Concord just using the clock as an ally. Rewrapping, rerouting, making life difficult. 20 seconds on the clock. Para had not revealed his position yet, but now has. And Dylan's got to go chase this. He's got to chase it with the pistol. Paralysis coming through, and oh, he's completely bamboozled him. Just slides through and then hits the brakes, holds a corner, and that'll be good for Concord to go up 2-0.
Yeah, just an aggressive hit comes through over towards A. All four players strong. Paralysis with the timing and the angles finds two to open things up. Immediately calls for the bomb to be going down, and boy, howdy did it. And you would almost think for a second, I mean, you and I specifically, since the beginning of the Challengers year, we've seen a lot of offenses get quite literally blown up like a Michael Bay film inside of that AS&D site by a well-timed nade. Druxy just about 2 seconds shy of that. Be able to find it at all. 2 rounds in favor of Concord. Now Bay State desperately need an answer. Rex won't see Crook cross. Might be able to find a timing. They go inside the hoop corner.
Oh, Crook, they did find a timing. He missed. All of the nades slid right on in towards the staircase, and then the timing of his peak, perfect. Not going to finish off Rex, and Phantom somehow has actually fought this back. So we go to Rex in what would be a 1v2 situation. He's gotten through the Concord defense here. And they may not fully expect this, but I love the fact that the Mountain Lions are staying proactive on this move, saying, let's just not get caught sitting in one spot. Get into a good position, and then see if we can maybe catch off Rex not expecting us further forward. However, the bomb has been stolen, and Rex has a completely open north side of the map, but instead watches Loyalty get out the window and rotate. And interestingly enough, Rex is going to look for the kill instead of playing for the plant.
Allocate 4.5 seconds. Might think that the team's going to be fully wrapping behind. Sees Loyalty's feet again. Some poke out. Might be able to find this kill, but Trauma's got the angle. It's scouted. It's over.
Rex has got to just flat out win this gunfight. Not going to happen. Wow. That is a very risky call. You're kind of chasing shadows and hoping that Concord will realize, oh, he's not at B, he must be at A, and they're going to re-rotate back, but Concord decide to hold their ground at B, and it's a gamble that works out beautifully. 3-0 up for the Mountain Lions.
Yeah, and even from what was potentially about to look like a 2v4 bounce back for Bay State after Phantoms is able to at least find that kill, same for Rex. Concord did the right call. 2v1, stack up together, rotate together, watch each other's crosses, just try to at least cover A. Does not come through. Rotate over towards B, just hold that for a certain amount of time. The game clock was their immediate benefactor of winning the round. Another aggressive hit coming over towards A. Now, Silly is also hitting a flank through the train station.
Yeah, it's a quick one this time. But it's been red. Trauma picks it up, gets the first blood. Phantoms, who initially threw some gunshots and nades, has backed out of the site. Looking to hold down the staircase. Not going to work out. Druxy looking for the trade. Denied by Para. Great awareness from him. And it's just down to Rex again. And I think Trauma may have just seen him. May not make much of a difference because Crooked is also working this with them. Trade should be imminent, and it is. How did this Concord team get smoked 6-1 and 6-2? They're playing great Search and Destroy right now.
I don't know if it has anything to do with maybe taking their opponents for granted, that they weren't playing this fundamentally strong. I mean, from what little I got to see of the Bocage Search and Destroy, even from Paralysis POV, they were not hitting sites as a collective for of what we're seeing here. And all of the flanks are being read so wonderfully. I mean, Silly's very quick flank was going to blow that play open. But Concord were more than aware that they didn't face any sort of adversity going inside of that A bomb, that it was just such a good fundamental read. Now Bay State desperately need an answer here. You do not want to go down 0-5 in the search. Rex, nice angle, but gets smoked to Trauma.
This is after Paralysis has been naded to critical health.
Jeez.
But largely the play towards B is just not allowed to happen anymore. You're double stacked over defensively on the hut. You've got Loyalty watching over the top. Silly will create some concern for the Concord defense as the sole A defender has fallen. But still, Bay State looking to force it in towards B. And as Loyalty picks up one through mid-map, oh, okay, there's the trade from Trauma. And it's down to 1v1. Loyalty's coming quickly. Knows that Phantoms is weak, but it doesn't matter. Phantoms, expects the challenge, and Loyalty drops in a blink of an eye.
Oh, the forced team kill is definitely felt there. Phantoms laying prone. Loyalty was trying to keep Trauma alive. Forces out the team kill regardless. I think Phantoms would have been able to find that kill with the drop hipfire headshot, barrel stuffing Trauma over by the docks. Finally getting themselves on the board are Bay State, being able to at least find these trades. They have the immediate information on, obviously, Paralysis and towards the back of the docks, fishing him out of the B hut itself, but that's a round you really feel like Concord are going to be scratching their heads at going forward. Now you're going to have this 2 split inside of Mail. At least 2 players go for Concord. Some wallbang shots to maybe speak of, but no stuns or nades, I believe, have been connected for either of these 2 teams on where anybody's located at.
Yeah, this is just looking for visual information. Oh, and Parrot gives up the angle through the broken boards as Silly slides over. So Bay State, actually, to be honest, both teams are a bit blind here. This could get chaotic, and it's a good check coming through. Rex and Phantoms getting 2 eliminations, 1 deep towards Train, of course, the other on screen right in front of us at the mailroom. And it all falls onto Crook just like that. It's just literally the smallest of windows. That was barely missed, and Crook didn't see Silly standing out in the open, which I get it, his eyes moving all over the screen. We're staring at the blue outlines, but Bay State get away with one there, just kind of slipping the timings.
It was just impressive again by proxy. I mean, you see that mailroom boarding just broken down to the bottom side. It can legitimately only mean one thing, right? I mean, that there is obviously a player maybe playing in the corner. At least you know that there's at least one player inside of Mail. Silly being able to get that slide timing underneath it was just some solid snake action, I'm not going to lie. But then Phantoms also being able to find that isolated kill on the bomb carrier, no less, over by the train yard itself. Does everything. Phantom sees 2 players cross, at least knows that the A bomb isn't at least 4 players strong.
Double stack defensively towards pillars this time. And this has not been read. Here comes Crook once again. He's got support. Wow, what a cool, different look here for Concord defensively. Still utilizing the early Crooked route, but this time kind of a little show of force at a longer angle, kind of a look here. Sleight of hand move being played, and it completely fools Bay State. And now they have to go to a 2v4 situation with their backs up against the wall.
No immediate information on where these players are located at. They completely given up that space. Trauma will continue to look at that, but Cousins, Rex, Phantoms just doubled up together, trying to move their way inside of Mail. Biggest problem going forward is going to be the game clock, trying to move your way, find these kills, being able to work towards one of these bomb sites to extend the round.
Yeah, the only play you have is to push to the middle of the map and isolate this defense by splitting them into 2. And saying it out loud may have manifested this, because now B is wide open, because Rex could easily plant. You know for a fact that Trauma and Crook are over towards the A site. Phantoms is making sure they haven't pushed back over through spawn. And he's also kind of watching the mid-cross. Of course, this is just blessed by timing. But interestingly enough, Rex is not sure that the long flank has been hit, so he's going to hold inside sight. And Phantoms is hoping for timing, and he's found it. Wow, this would be a 2v4. It's all down to Trauma, and he's going to be wasting time clearing out this area that isn't even being occupied right now.
Yeah, it's not even planning for that side. Sees Rex inside the hut, still has no idea what is even going on. Where did Phantoms go? Well, they just went up towards fire. That will be the round, just completely exhausted by way of the game clock. 2v4. Retake Phantoms on 6 in a row. Actually be able to find kill number 7. Trauma pushes out. Yeah, that's the rounds, the 2v4. Phantoms gets a glide bomb. 3 rounds on the bounce for Bay State.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. That's the only play, by the way, that could happen if you're Bay State. That's the only option, is to try to make something happen to the middle of the map, create chaos in the back line of the defense, force them to have to either hold their position or rotate into the open. And the fact that Phantoms gets not 2, but all 4, if I'm not mistaken, is unbelievable. And that's just good heads-up play. That's moves that we've seen them make when they were playing for UIU and things like that in the past. Is they will force the worst-case scenario to try to sneak away around, and boy, have they ever. Opening stuns defensively. kind of show force here that Bay State may be playing aggressive, and even with a nade kill inside of Mail, here comes the double stack, but Paralysis has read this, gets the first, know that Druxy's nearby. Rex also reveals his position, but he's way healthier, and that'll be enough for a double out of Rex, and it all falls onto Loyalty for a 1v3.
Knows that Rex is in the window, but the head glitch just a little bit better over by the Dock Hut. And Bay State, they have bounced back right into the search and destroy. They lose the opening 4. They respond with 4 of their own. And again, they are able to read what is almost feeling like a very frustrated and aggressive call coming out from Concord. Let's just hit over towards Mail, get inside of the B hut, and try to set up that checkmate type situation where we can get the bomb planted quickly over at B. It is scouted. It is held strong by Bay State. And with that door being opened by a stun and then a nade soon to follow, I mean, Crook had nowhere to go. He was trapped inside that corner one way or another. Great turn of events coming through for Bay State and Concord. Again, trying to get aggressive. They are holding a very forward possession here on the B lane.
Look at this. Is just a beautiful read. We saw it from Phantom's position. You see no one cross towards A. You confirm the information now with the glide bomb, and this bomb should rotate over to the A site, but the timing of this is actually really poor. Concord stays safe from the glide, and they've re-wrapped back towards A. This timing is very bad for Bay State. They've missed an opportunity here. Trauma down low, tagged. Silly looking to follow up, but creation of space from Trauma actually allows help to get here even further, so trade is good. Silly's kind of caught in his lonesome at the moment, looking to pick up the bomb and still keep the play towards A, but the defense is in a good spot here for this 2v2. Just comes down to will Bay State actually commit to this, because they still have time to get to B if they want to, but as Silly slides forward, okay, there we go. So he runs right into Loyalty, and now Crook needs a double, and he does!
Huh? We'll see it from his perspective here for sure. First, Silly slides on in just underneath him. Crook drags on down, finds kill number 11 in the search and destroy. You said needs a double, is able to find it. And that's all off the back end. Remember, Silly was able to at least find that trade, collects the bomb. They threw a stun through the upper courtyard stairs leading down towards the pillars, does not connect onto Crook. And because of that, their position was not even revealed at all in the moment that they actually pounce when they needed to find the double. Beautifully done. Now up on map point for Concord to even up the series.
Loyalty wants to go quickly. This is risky. It's not going to work out. Drugsy Phantoms from the front hold it down with a double forward defense. And Silly's quick route through mid will completely just destroy this round before it really got off the ground. So round 11. And well, you know where I'm going to go with this proper. At the moment, Bay State is 0 for 2 in round 11s tonight.
Will it be 0 for 3, though? What is Concord's play going to be? Because it is on the offense, and through 2 offensive attempts, it has been stuffed. Bay State read the B push, and then they also hard read the A push with 3 defenders over towards A. So what's the offensive call coming through from Concord this time around? It looks like it's going to be a slight on B committal. Question is, did Silly see anybody cross from that line of sight? It would be tough. It would be very tight.
This is just for nades, though. This isn't a commitment with the bomb with Loyalty holding it backside warehouse. This is just for nades. And I believe they did hit Gruxy. He was moving pretty slow. Para's going to move quickly. Oh, this route from Trauma gets picked up by Silly. Oh, he almost had the timing for 2, but instead Silly has a little spidey sense tingling. And the first 2 kills were collected by Bay State with Para committed forward. But fighting back. Druxy will drop, and Concord can kind of reset this. The problem is everyone's stuck. I mean, Para's got no out right now.
He needs Loyalty's help to overwatch this play. Door will be cracked open. Paralysis needs to push all the way through. Loyalty's position has been scouted out, but Paralysis still needs to make the play.
Oh, and the shots from Rex actually give him an opportunity. Then back to the window. Silly will deny it in the same moment. Loyalty shows himself a little bit too much from behind cover. Bay State will take the round 11, but oh my, was it tight? Was it close? As was mentioned on the Berlin hardpoint, the same could be said here about the search.
Oh, it's just the lead that was there for Concord. Again, as you were saying, the same for the Berlin hardpoint gets snuffed out. Bay State, again, just exemplifying the one thing is the amount of experience that this team has to be able to adapt to the tendencies that are constantly being thrown at them and to overcome it as well. Again, you go back to that 2v4 from Phantoms and Rex, and you really feel like that was like the biggest turning point of it all. being able to be outwitted through getting stuffed as far as the be aggressive hit is concerned by ways of stuns and nades, that's certainly one thing that you can definitely keep in the back of your cap. But that 2v4 just simply cannot have happen, given the simple fact that with Rex and Phantoms being doubled on up together, there was only one position that they could have been at. You knew it, I knew it, we were calling it as it was manifesting as well. There was only really one position, or if not two, that those two players could have been located at, and it just felt like all the mental was gone there from Concord again, just trying to aggressively try to hit towards one of these bomb sites, both offensively and defensively alike, that it just came down to angles being held. Much like the end of that Berlin hardpoint for the ARs just to hold down the angles and to stuff any SMG presence coming through.
Yeah, that 2v4 will haunt dreams for Concord in this moment, because that literally is the definition of difference maker in this series, in this map rather, I should say. 11-9 for Crook. Paralysis still on his early aggression, worked out pretty nicely overall, but Crook's little sneaky routes defensively gave Concord a real good look at this map, but in the end, it's Phantoms and Rex, the 2v4 as mentioned, plus extra on top, the glide bomb a part of it. And honestly, even though the efficiency of that glide bomb was not all what I would consider to be great, it was still an extra tool that led to a really good look at the round overall. So it's going to be a 2-0 up series for Bay State as we look towards the halftime break. And man, how different this series could be off of one hold on hardpoint or one 4v2 capitalization. Could very well be 2-0 the other way, but who knows? Reverse sweeps have happened before, still possibly could here, but Concord back up against the wall. Otherwise, they face a lower bracket qualification match tomorrow. We'll see how things unfold when we come back after the break. Welcome back there, friends. We get off Berlin and straight on into what could be a double dose of Tuscan. Map 3, of course, the control here, and Concord, who have been so close to taking maps, now forced to have to reverse sweep. See what Bay State has to offer here on one of our more routinely played control maps. And I think the biggest question here will be, honestly, just who can set up a solid defense first and foremost? Because I feel like we largely in the CCL see the A zone kind of be like, we'll just kind of give it up. But I think defensively, whoever can kind of make the A zone most difficult very well may win this map.
Yeah, it all comes down to making sure that you exhaust so many of the lives, exhaust the clock, so that way at the offense's point of turn, they need to go for all in for the A zone. Quick trades coming through will quickly bleed on blue in favor of Silly Druxy clean up the rest of Concord. Now they can push forward.
Have to clear this quickly for Concord. Well, they don't have more than a single kill yet. Not good news, as you would figure, but using the well position as kind of a setup base, that's going to work out nicely. In fact, this would be really good to kind of turn the attention away from the spawns and back towards mid-map, which, okay, another extra step forward for Trauma actually allows him a double into the mix, which is great news for the rest of Concord. Not only have you neutralized the life deficit that you were kind of already facing from the get-go, but this has stopped the clock and given you 2 ticks of progress for essentially free. Nades coming back in as the contest is already on the way. Para holding closely. We'll see the bottom of a foot, and somehow he gets credited for that kill. And that will be an extra 60 seconds. Really good recovery here from Concord.
Yeah, Silly must have been weak because Paralysis literally just sneezed and took Silly down. Druxy for 2 inside of the church, so at least you are these numbers dwindled, so that way Concord can't push too heavily past the middle of the map, but you still have 3 players over here, and you know that means that Concord are going to be looking for forward positions, mostly inside of radio, maybe trying to get the backside of church.
Tons of time in the clock here, but if you're Concord, you can't just live in the church. You have to start moving this defense around, especially those that are on the bottom side of the map. Silly's been scouted out. He will be eventually eliminated. Oh, that's a huge gunfight win from Crook. He does get traded, but again, this is good church control, and you've got Paralysis who can move further forward, but once again, Silly off spawn, just very aware of where the imminent threat is and immediately shuts it down. Good stuff here for Bay State. Even though the lives are low on both sides, Bay State's defense is currently winning this second exchange.
And they can continue to find these trades, right? Because what Concord have at least showed so far is that when they don't have all 4 players, they are not willing to try to take more map positioning away. Crook is able to take down Silly in the backside of Church. Now you need to progressively try to deny more map positioning away from Bay State. They re-Phantoms inside of P5. They need to be able to deal with them, but just the moment that they thought they could deal with Phantoms, Druxy resurfaces finds 2.
Oh, this is interesting. Rex actually wants to take away this radio position, so still the high ground being held. No need to force a gunfight onto Crook here, but Rex is actually coming back over towards Patio, and ooh, Phantoms has actually been tagged up. Opportunity for Concord to have some numbers and actually out-trade these positions from the Bulldogs, but you've got to go quickly. 25 seconds on the clock. 1 life advantage for Concord's attack. And as they dive on into the hard point, Paralysis is by himself. Finally, some help from Loyalty over the middle of the map, but it's just not good enough. And with 15 seconds on the clock, it's got to be Andrew to do something, and he will be turned aside. 6 playing up against 5, and Concord need to stop this clock right now.
The only player that might be able to fly over there would have been Loyalty, but Phantoms is in such a good position. Finds 2 kills. That should be the round more or less. Yeah, Crook can't even get there in time, yeah. But at least for Concord, you know, it's saving graces. At least you were able to get the A-zone capture fully converted and at least kind of moved away from the disastrous start that was Bay State, just completely running you over and getting tons of mid-map positioning. At least you can walk away with that. It just comes down to a feat within its own self that Concord need to almost replicate, that you can only allow Bay State to capture the A zone. You just cannot get run over from that opening start, going all the way forward for 2-zone capture.
All right. So Concord, the job defensively is now, can you at least stop any progress from happening on B here? That'd be a hell of a way to salvage what was a very poor start offensively for you. The first tick of progress is just going to be conceded. No one's in a position to challenge this. Crook was the only one close by, and there was really no help beyond it to get his trade. So now the second tick of progress becomes concerning. Trauma, right through you. Tagged up Rex, that'll be good for the kill, but Phantoms will kind of finish off where his cousin left off, and that'll be the second tick locked in.
It almost felt like that Concord were expecting either a B push or a heavier stack over through the middle of the map is where all their stuns and nades came through, and all of the returning gunfights from the respawn Bay State are able to completely capture the A zone, now taking a forward position, trying to get radio in their control. Paralysis will be there to at least find that kill. Expecting more from coming up top. Druxy won't be able to make the jump, and at least that's the saving grace for Paralysis to hold this angle.
Good hold from Loyalty in the back as well, dealing with 2 members to keep the spawn safe and any further plays around the back. Silly looking to play his life. Paralysis will not allow him to. And now the first kind of caution moment for Bay State, as they have no ground to work with, have to fight through P5, which is by no means an easy catwalk to make your way through. And interestingly enough, as Loyalty gives up the back to play forward, all of a sudden Rex can be sitting there saying, hey, no one's in the back. I can actually get around this and maybe try to help you guys out on a bit of a pinch.
Pinch will end up coming through as 3 players for Concord are actually all looking at P5. Druxy will be the last player alive, and down by the patio stairs, Trauma will be able to clean things up. So now it's the task for Rex is just to stay alive, pause this stress in towards the back, and try to maybe convert maybe a pinch for the rest of the Bay State members to find value pushing forward.
Yeah, and actually, how about it? It's not even pushing forward. It's Bay State pushing around to join Rex, who gets behind this play, but Crook denies it. And now all of a sudden with that, it's Concord saying, oh, wait a second, they're behind us. Maybe a bit slow and tempered was that play from Bay State. And as Concord hold the high ground around Radio and Bunks, you need to get a little bit of help here, and that's well done. Silly with the double, good help from Phantoms, and the third will fall simultaneously. It's just down to Trauma to hold this position. You cannot overshell if you're here. You just have to make sure that the first tick of progress is in some way contestable. And oh, how about a little bit of help from some teammates? That'll work out okay, but someone's got to slide and touch this. Crook will get on, but not in time. The first tick of progress is going to get locked in. Phantom's looking to double up and does. Now he's got help. And now with Bay State with 3 members on, they can stack this, but Trauma gets a triple from behind. It's all down to Phantoms. Second tick of progress locked, but Bay State will be pushed back by a single man, and his name is Trauma.
You need to be careful here going forward because Trauma is on a 5 spree. He's in a really good position to maybe find yet another kill here inside of maps. Push is coming through. There's kill number 6. Thinks that it's going to be on their side of the broken wall, but Phantoms will be there for the pinch. So glide bomb denied, but still an opportunity to get on this B zone.
Yeah, his offense is not done yet, and with Silly on stopping the clock, the third tick of progress is almost here. Concord has to come first. Elimination is good. Second one will also fall, but Rex is able to line them up for 3. Now it's down to Rex. 1v1 with Trauma! It's a double for Trauma again! 22 and 8 through 2 rounds. And last chance saloon for Bay State. Last 2 members. Druxy's looking to play it through Church. You got to get towards the zone, though. Trauma's holding this from a very safe corner. And as Druxy's the last one standing, Trauma will confirm the final kill. What a heroic play from Trauma.
Yeah, again, what a heads-up play coming through from Trauma as a whole. Again, comes out from the top side of Church, completely clears away Radio, and that is the one position that is always so damning, so alarming for teams trying to stack that B zone. If it's not nades that can come through from the backside of the truck on the backside of Church, it's going to be a player that can get in top green position, to overwatch the entirety of the play. And you even saw Phantoms try to reposition themselves to almost deny that line of sight that Trauma did have for themselves. But it didn't mean that the other 3 players for Bay State were not going to look at it to try to deal with Trauma in that position. You keep yourself alive, you at least answer defense for defense. But it's still Bay State with a 2-tick lead going into this round.
Trauma just gets naded out of the map. Tough scenes, and that will be the go call for Bay State to recontest the A zone just before the first tick has been locked. And now you have to deal with Drugsy forward, and this is going to feel very familiar if you're Concord. Uh-oh, we're about to get spawn trapped again. Oh, my goodness. Trauma is just... Give him a heat check. Just let him do what he wants. Oh, if he turns and finds Silly here, we're in trouble if Trauma finds this. But has to work through Phantoms first. And honestly... Trauma just wants to play his life, and okay, Phantoms will let him know a little bit, saying, okay, you had to give yourself a good round, but a lot of room still to work with here if you're Bay State.
Paralysis on this A zone is at least trying to hold the space. They are all in, trying to watch all these angles. They know that their flank is not secured, so that means that Trauma has to watch it. Kind of tiptoeing around this triple stack that comes all the way through the collapse soon to follow. Third tick of progress will be contested, and Drugsy will find Paralysis.
That hurts.
It was a mustachio's hair away from adding an extra 60 seconds on towards the board. Now you have to recollect yourself off the respawn and try to assault for this last tick.
Good first 2 kills coming through, though. Just have to deal with Drugsy. Maybe easier said than done. Tries to play his life through you, but Loyalty will confirm the kill. Tries to get forward on the A zone to create space, but denied. Trades are still decent. The problem with this, even if you get the extra 60 seconds, though, is not a lot of lives to play with here if you're Concord. Down 7. And actually, if Bay State keep throwing lives to play for kills on the exit, they may be able to reduce that number a touch, but it looks like Bay State have wisened up to the play, saying no need to risk this. Let's just play with our advantage.
Play with the numbers. You can just continuously play the trade game, and you will not only be able to exhaust the clock, but exhaust the lives remaining as well. Proactive play for Concord in towards the back. They do get inside a church, but they're still hesitating on what they try to do with this position. Instead of trying to full flood around the back, they're trying to jostle for position inside a top radio. That'll mean that Crook is left alone in towards the play and towards the back. And although a little bit too individualistic for my liking for Trauma, was trying to coordinate a pinch in towards the back, not be able to join the likes of Crook for this play.
4 in a row, though, for Crooks. You can just play this corner, honestly. There's still enough time here to let Concord set up from the front, and they'll clear P5 without contest. And interestingly enough, Bay State are looking to maybe even get forward here. A bit delayed. Kills are decent, though. Opening exchange through the middle, and the player in the back of Crook had also fallen as this play was unfolding. Stuns making life difficult. And honestly, this is it. Right here for Concord. You've got to get on and get 2 ticks of progress. Otherwise, you will be playing, at worst, a round 5 offense. Rex deep side column. Stays alive long enough to allow Drugsy to double up. And that will be the end of the offense here for Concord. It's too difficult in the first starts of this attacking looks. The first 45 seconds just have not been all that great for Concord.
Yep, back-to-back offenses where Concord are at least able to find an opening kill, but then completely get run over by Bay State, just running amok through the middle of the map, getting U control, getting to the backside of Vines. I mean, you name it, they are just fishing out all these timings and absolutely collecting off the opening engagements. And that, again, as you were saying, it just enforces such a spawn trap scenario that it forces Concord to go 3 for 1 out of their own spawn, for heaven's sakes, just to be able to get presence over by the A zone. If they had converted the A zone early on that second attempt, I'd have been looking at maybe a difference of that B zone attempt, but so tough to be able to gauge. Again, Concord assuming that Bay State are going over towards the B zone first and foremost. They read it wrong again.
First tick already gone. Second one quickly on the way. Kind of forces a sense of urgency here from Concord, looking to play still off the flank. It's red. Oh boy, is it ever red. Not good news. Crooked is able to at least stop the second tick from coming in, but Bay State are now threatening spawns. They've got the ability to isolate. And those are not good things to say out loud if you're a Concord fan. Bay State looking really mighty good in this control so far.
Yeah, they really are. Again, just being able to play against the numbers, overwhelm any individual play that's starting to come through from Concord, but the trades will at least be there. 2 ticks of progress to speak through over at A. Bay State, as smart as they are, convert this little pressure that was manifesting over towards A and try to bring this pressure over towards B.
Feels desperate in nature to a touch here, though. As this third tick is likely to be conceded, especially with Trauma getting traded out. Para may give this a go, but he's really not had a good map this map. 9 and 24, and a lot of it has been trying to force plays like that are absolutely red. Adds 60 to the clock. And even though Bay State is down 3 lives, got a lot of time to make that up and start making their way towards B.
Oh, good help from Silly. We'll keep Phantoms alive inside of Church. That double play coming through inside of Church will, of course, be at least mitigated by Crook taking down Silly, and the Paralysis will be able to answer back on the Phantom. So, holding the line, up by 3 lives are the defense of Concord. But it's just about making sure that nobody flanks around. That's going to leave Loyalty behind to make sure the backside of Church is safe while the rest of the players try to shut down this P5 push.
Oh, stuns, nades, Paralysis in trouble. Does back away, though. Good help from teammates around him. Oh, but you just got to wait for the regen there. No need to overchal it. You had Crook there to help, but Paralysis feeling frisky still. Tried to make a play, and now it kind of falls onto his teammates' shoulders to pick things up. And largely they have. The problem about this is no one has seen Rex slip through patio. And as he moves a bit further forward, okay, he should get traded here, no problem. Should be. Okay, there it is.
Okay, all right. About to say, should be, because the rest of his teammates were still trying to get Alpha respawn through the middle of the map. But again, just holding the line, 11v11. They were able to mitigate that life deficit Bay State were. They're also kind of putting this play from behind in. What a heads-up call that is from Druxy. Clears away P5 and is making sure that the top of the staircase is being held as well.
Oh, boy. And that 3-life lead for Concord has now turned to a 3-life lead for Bay State. 30 seconds still on the clock. First tick of progress locked. Druxy on 4. Still contesting topside Church, but Trauma still works for the double. Opportunity for a retake. Phantom's looking to lock things down from the low ground, but has to reload. Finds Trauma down. Parallel is going to be able to confirm the trade, and not enough help, unfortunately, from the back in time from Silly. Although he does collect 2 kills, and that actually opens up the floodgates here. It's a 7v3. Clock will stop as soon as Bay State touches, which is right here, right now. Loyalty on one side, Trauma the other, and Crooked on the long flank. They have to make this all work, and now it's just down to Crooked. Very patiently gets the first and wipes the second. It's 3 for Crooked. Trying to get this to around 5. Silly slips right by him. Crook still looking to use the high ground to his advantage, and what would be a 1v6. 5 seconds on the clock. In the corner, Drugsy will fall. But the clock stops again, and it's going to be a double stack. It's Silly and Phantoms stacking. Crook going patio side. It's been red. He's got to find these kills now. He needs to come down to contest. He's low. Still finds the kill, but doesn't get the final 1v1. And Bay State will confirm their 4th round, their 2nd offense. Oh, but did Crook ever give it a go?
You sure did. I mean, if Andrew had a stun, a nade, maybe to at least keep those players weak, at least get some immediate information. You saw when they just came flying down from the patio side, just thought that there was going to be a player inside the contest spot over by the boxes. Was not going to be the case. You just almost felt like it was just one nade, one stun that could have potentially been the change of the affair. For Crook to have a 1v6 to keep Concord alive, not only in the control, but also inside the series. I mean, that is just my heart is just bending in all different shapes and forms, man. Because I mean, Concord gave themselves a good look, not only just at least as an offense to maybe try to associate over towards that B zone. You go back to the hard point and the search and destroy specifically, where the SMGs were getting away with highway robbery. This time around, going in towards another respawn for Tuscan control. All of Bay State just make Paralysis just a non-benefactor. What an unfortunate turn of events.
Yeah, look, I know, the first 2 maps, it was very easy to be harsh on Loyalty, but it's still, at no point through this series did we have all 4 members participating evenly for Concord. And is that the difference maker? I think we can hypothetically leave the question out there, but I think the resounding response would largely lead to, but boy, did Concord ever give themselves a look here to take down the #1 team in the rankings in CCL. But it's hard to do that with 3 people, man. You have to come out at your best if you're going to beat a team like Bay State or Northwood. And we saw that from multiple angles. Florida State first versus Northwood, and Concord here versus Bay State. What a set of series those were, though, in the evening.
It really was. I mean, this one, again, this was a hotly contested 3-0 in favor of Bay State, and Concord gave a really good run of it. But I think you hit the nail on the head here, Alan, is that it's the simple fact that still remains is that although you did have individual moments like what we were talking about from Trauma, having themselves a whale of the opening 2 rounds, albeit not to the outcome I'm sure that Concord University were looking for. Worked also shortly behind them at 37 and 28 as well. It just comes down to all 4 players clicking together,
Yes.
having themselves a consistent game. That is the biggest difference for me from Concord back at the end of Modern Warfare, being able to take at least one best of 5 off of Texas A&M Maroon. Same could be said at the end as a top 3 placing for Cold War. It's just not the same where all 4 players are clicking together, being able to find the consistent value across the map.
Yeah. So workshopping has to be done. To look back over the maps again, it's a 3-0, but boy, were all 3 of these maps really anyone's game. I think, especially for the first 2, we could have said this could have been a 2-0 Concord, no problem. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, when you're up about 50 points, like 210 to like 160, and you're up 4-0 in the Search and Destroy, not being able to close out those maps really does hurt a lot. But the goal here is qualification. That's everything. Doesn't matter how you get there, just got to qualify. And for Bay State, that's job done. Bay State Northwood, number 1, number 2, as a lot of people had predicted and expected. I want to say actually everyone who put down a prediction probably had those 2 getting through the upper bracket. They did. And both of them did it in 3-0 form. So now it's up to Concord tomorrow to play up against the winner of Davenport and Penn State. Davenport beating Florida State 3-1 in what looks to be a pretty thrilling series. Unfortunate for the Seminoles after they just kind of got put into a weird bracket as, again, the big surprise was St. Clair beating Davenport to send Davenport down to the lower bracket as early as they were there. Means that Florida State will finish top 24. Penn State, as reported on before, had 3-0'd Michigan. Georgia Southern, on the bottom side of that lower bracket, had 3-1 Utica College. Big showing for the Pioneers. Shout out to those guys. And then St. Clair also beating Rutgers means that tomorrow's matches will start off stream. It'll get to go find player POVs unless for some reason the CDL is over before 6 o'clock p.m. It'll be Davenport versus Penn State and Georgia Southern versus St. Clair. Waiting in the qualification matches of the teams that had just previously lost. Concord will play the winner of Davenport and Penn State. McMaster will play the winner of Georgia Southern and St. Clair. Man, those are going to be fun qualification matches no matter how the makeup of that looks between the 2 teams we get.
Yeah, you and I were sitting here having a bit of a laugh in between maps 2 and 3. Like, that Georgia Southern, St. Clair Saints, I'm going to be scouring the depths of the CCL cord and on Twitch to be able to find any sort of POV that I possibly can. That's going to be a banger. And then the potential for Penn State rematch versus Concord for a qualification match for LAN?
Yeah.
Dude, CCL 2022 is nuts.
It's going to be nuts. So that's tomorrow's broadcast for you. Intended start time is at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it says in the broadcast challenge that we've got for the bracket, so I assume that that's still the case. Of course, keep an eye on the Discord and the Twitter for when we go live, because if the CDL does end early, we'll do our best to try to jump in and catch whatever we can out of the other matches that are going to be happening in lower round 3. Otherwise, hopefully will there be some kind of publication as far as who's streaming those if you want to watch on with player POVs and stuff like that. But we've qualified 2 of our total 8 teams for the CCL finals. Davenport, Bay State, massive congratulations on getting this far. 6 more teams, though, still battling it out to see who will, out of the East, represent their region. And then next weekend, we'll do it all over again for the Western region before we get to Columbus, Ohio in the beginning of June. Maybe the weekend of the 12th. It's the 11th and 12th are the exact dates, so make sure you keep that weekend clear because you're going to want to tune into it. But for tonight, we say farewell, and until tomorrow, we hope that you keep holding it down. So long.